People are dying every day due to violence, and it seems as if no one is doing anything. It's talked about in the news quite a lot, actually, but they do not talk about what is being done to prevent it or what they can do to maybe minimize the amount of violence in the world. I have put in a quote talking about how the world suffers a lot, not because of the violence of bad people, but because of the silence of good people. Meaning, not enough people speak up for others, not enough people put themselves out there to save others. So, one of the main violences you do see is school violence. And it happens everywhere. It doesn't just happen in the US or in like some small areas. And in my opinion, it's not talked about enough in the news. Or they don't talk about what schools can do or what the cities can do to prevent the school violence. And school violence, that doesn't just mean bullying or anything like that. That could also mean the school shootings. They don't talk about what can be done to prevent it. They just talk about who has done it and how it has impacted people, which that is good to talk about how it can impact people and how they can cope with it. But they should talk about how to prevent it more. I have put in a short little video talking about how you can talk to children about school shootings.
Now on GMA with helping kids cope in the aftermath of tragedy. Over the past few days, there have been tornado deaths and, of course, yesterday's school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee, among other events. Family physician and expert on resilience, Dr. Deborah Gilboa, is here with how to communicate with your children. Thank you so much. I know we were talking a little bit in the commercial break, and it's just, you couldn't turn away yesterday. There's just so much access to information, which means there's more news. So as a parent, how and when should you talk to your child about it?
The first thing to think about is how old is my kid, and are they going to hear about it anyway? So if they're going to hear about it anyway, or they're over the age of 8, it's an important conversation to know how to have with your child, for sure.
Yeah, and can we talk about the adults and having to deal with
Right.
the emotional response? Because that really sets the tone and the example for children,
For
doesn't
sure.
it?
The first step is to be able to manage our own stress about it, because we can't come to our kids and have that conversation if we're a wreck. Then they're going to feel like they need to take care of us. So get the support you need from the adults in your life, and think for yourself about, in the face of this stressor, since it's unavoidable and it keeps coming at you, who do I want to be? I have to deal with this. So if I have a stress that's unavoidable, I have to consider, what can I do? Do I want to be the kind of person who acknowledges it, offers sympathy, and tries to do something else? Do I want to be the kind of person who gets involved and tries to make the world better in some way for my child and for my family? Do I want to be the kind of person who thinks, okay, I'm going to reach out to the people who are important to me and tell them how much I care? Control the things you can control is a really good way to find your own way through the stress.
I'm so glad you said that, because I've heard from so many people, adults, who said, I just feel numb. I just feel numb. And then you gave them ways that they can deal with that emotion.
So that we can come to our kids and ask.
Yeah.
Ask them, hey, have you heard about this? Do you have any idea? Do you have any feelings about this or thoughts? So that we enter the conversation at the right place, and then we really listen to their answer before we try and flood them with more information.
Wait for them sometimes,
Right.
depending on the age group, as you
Absolutely.
said.
And then you won't have a conversation that's not where they're at about it.
Right. Are there any warning signs, perhaps, a parent should look for?
You know, the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey just came out and said that for the first time, fear of violence or violence is the biggest reason that kids don't want to go to school. So if you have a child who's trying to stay home or avoid school, you have to consider the possibility that that fear of violence is one of the reasons. And ask them ask, hey, tell me more about what's going on. Don't just assume it's because they have a test they don't want to take or something like that. And make sure that if you're really worried about them, you're reaching out to their doctor or to their guidance counselor, their school counselor, to get a little bit of extra support for you and for them. But the thing that we can always do is focus on some sort of purpose. Ask them, hey, is there something we could do together? Or suggest, is there a way that we could make a difference? Maybe not about that issue, but in some positive way to make our corner of the world a little bit better. That teaches kids that they matter, that their actions matter, and they can have positive impact. And mattering improves their mental health.
It kind of eases their fear. That's another way of doing that.
It can ease their fear. We don't want to tell kids how to feel. We don't want to tell them how not to feel. There's nothing to be scared of. Doesn't really help. But if we have empathy for their feelings, ask them how they're doing, and involve them in making a difference, we're giving them the best shot we can of having stronger mental health through some unbelievable stressors.
I remember as a child, I was watching TV and I saw something that really startled me. And we go to New Orleans, which was a big town coming from Mississippi. And we were having lunch, and all of a sudden, I didn't want to go outside. We were supposed to go shopping. And I remember I was just paralyzed. It's like in the 5th grade or something like that. And my mom stayed with me. My father went out. But I remember my mom just sitting there and just talking to me and helping me. And I was able to then, but you just don't know these different things that affect children.
You don't know what's happening for them, but you get to ask. And because you're their adult at home, you get lots of opportunities to show them that you're next to them. You don't have all the answers, you don't have to, but you're next to them and you won't give up on being their person.
I know, because my mom didn't say anything. She just sat there, but she was there. Can I call you Dr. G?
Please.
Thank you, Dr. G. Love the, and I know we called you at the last minute. You come in with your kicks like that. Thank you so much. This is vital information that we needed to share with everybody. For more resources and information on how to talk to your children in difficult times, go to goodmorningamerica.com, or you can scan the QR code on your screen.
I do completely agree with her that you should always keep your kids informed to a certain extent, and always be sure that they're at an age where they can understand. All right, the next type of violence that I feel is kind of important, really important, is violence against women. Now, usually when you think of violence against women, it's mainly abuse in intimate relationships, meaning like domestic partnerships, marriages, anything like that. But it can also be, for example, there are articles about how in other countries women are very much abused out in the open, they're raped, and no one is doing anything about it. They walk by, or they think, oh, well, maybe she did something to deserve it, or something like that. And when in fact that's not true. That none of these women deserve what is happening to them. But just because I only listed violence against women, there is also violence against men, and that's one of the things that is very highly untalked about. No one addresses it because they think, well, men can't have violence because, they're big men. They can take care of themselves, but that's actually not true. They can go through what any other person goes through. They can go through what any other woman goes through. It really just depends. And then violence in general. Each year, more than 1.6 million people worldwide lose their lives to violence. And this is any type of violence. It can be gun violence. It can be bullying, harassment. For example, transgender women and men. They have a lot of violence against them because a lot of men or a lot of women don't see them as their actual genders that they identify as. And so they harass them, they bully them, and they kill them because they don't believe that they're real women or real men. And then there's also just a lot of harassment and a lot of deaths in the LGBTQ community because a lot of people don't think it's right that they are just basically living their life, which is unfair to them and it's untrue. It is completely right. They have their own rights to live the way they want to live, and they don't deserve what happens to them. So really, people just need to watch what they're doing, watch what they're saying, and if they see someone getting hurt, they should absolutely step up and say something or call the police or something. Just don't let that person keep getting hurt. Don't let that person just feel alone in what they're going through. People should step up a lot more, and the government should absolutely try and fix or eradicate a lot of these things that's happening, because I feel like they could diminish school shootings if they really tried. But as of right now, people can just step up and speak about it and talk about how to prevent it.